Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming out on this rather rocky evening outside. This is what the boat talks are all about. They're all cuddling in here, nice and cosy, and there's all sorts of maelstrom going on out there. So that's one of the things we like about it, of course. Welcome to the inaugural for the 2025-2026 season. We go right through till February. Feel free to take home one of the flyers on your seat if you want to keep up to date, or if not, just take it, pop it in on the table on the way out. Before I introduce our speaker this evening, just a few quick words. If we need to escape for whatever reason, fire exits all over the place here, I'm sure you're aware. If you've had tea and coffee and you're still enjoying that, we'd really appreciate it if you wouldn't mind just bringing your top out to the table on your way out. And thank you very much. We've got a great band of volunteers who make this happen. A really strong team. And if you're interested in joining that team, we certainly have you on board if you want to be a volunteer in helping this happen. Welcome to Alex. Absolutely over the moon that Alex is going to start off our season. Some of you might know Alex from Ridge. I'm not quite a house in Garden. Ridge is okay. Ridge is okay. So others might know of his family background and the expeditioning and the incredible things over on the west Ross and Loch Carron area. We're delighted to have Alex to speak to us this evening about this Island Munros Triathlon. I've had a wee look at the slides and we're in for an absolute treat tonight. So without further ado, Alex, on you, go. Hey, great. Thanks, Josh.
So thank you, first of all, very much for having me here. I'm really honoured to be speaking to you guys tonight. My name is Alex Moran. I'm a race instructor, and I was based and I live in Cambridge. I just moved back to the Highlands 3 years ago. And I'm here tonight to tell you about an adventure that me and my friend Mike Coppock had in the northwest Highlands of Scotland a few years ago. So I grew up in the northwest Highlands in a village called Loch Carron, and as you guys may know, I was surrounded by some of the most beautiful mountains, if not the most beautiful mountains that we have in the United Kingdom. And from a very young age, I started climbing both in winter and summer amongst the mountains of the northwest Highlands. And my early climbing career brought with it lots of really amazing, really happy moments. This would be climbing some ice on the back of Riga, Victoria. But it also brought with it some moments of inevitable fear and definitely some difficult climbs, difficult routes. This has been crying somewhere near Compton. But overall, it was an amazing upbringing in the mountains. So many adventures, both in the UK and abroad. And in our family, there wasn't much choice but to be into the mountains, because my dad was a British mountain guide. His name was Mike Moran. And from the word go, myself and my sister Hazel were taken all over Europe, We spent our summers in the Alps in Norway. And we watched my dad leave to go and guide or personally climb these mountains and then come back home in the evenings. And my dad was, I think it's an understatement to say, absolutely obsessed with the mountains. And when he wasn't personally climbing them or guiding them, he was at his desk writing feverishly about them. This is a picture of him on our local classic multi-pitch rock climb with the Cuillin Ridge. We'll ignore the fact he's not wearing a helmet. We'll let that. So, alongside his love for the mountains, my dad also really had a passion for endurance challenges and challenges which involved a lot of suffering over multiple days, hours, weeks, months. And before I was born, he completed the first winter round of the Scottish Munros in a single winter season. And alongside my mum, who was support team for that, he completed that challenge in 83 days and he wrote a book about it. And the first memory I have of one of his sort of challenges that he was undertaking was in 1994, when he became the first person alongside Simon Jenkins to make a continuous round of the 4,000 metre peaks in the Alps, cycling between all the different groups of mountains. So he also wrote a book about that. So in our younger years, Dad was quite a sort of impressive character to look up to, but he was quite big shoes to fill as well, and definitely he had high expectations for himself, but also the guys who worked for him, and also the clients, and also his family as well. So I definitely really looked up to him. And even though my dad travelled across the world several times, often in a year, to the Himalayas and to the Alps every summer, and other greater ranges as well, he always came back to his love for the Northwest Highlands. It really was in his blood. And in 2019, when he died in an accident avalanche in the Himalayas, we were looking through some of his writings, because he was an avid diary writer. And amazingly, we found this letter. So it was a letter that he'd written to himself in 1994, when he was in Pindari Valley in the Himalayas. And it was a letter about his love for the Northwest Highlands, really, and his motivations for climbing and being a guide. And the really poignant thing about this letter is that the valley where he wrote this letter was the valley where the avalanche took him into the Highlands. So it was really amazing to find this letter. I'd like to read you a little excerpt which just shows how much he loved the Northwest Highlands. I marvelled at the play of mist and evening sunlight on the heather-clad hills, with all the thrill that I remember as a boy. These, the hills of my wildest dreams 30 years ago, and now the hills of home. I've moved to them, grown to them, and now inseparable from them. So, not only did we have lots of writings of the mountains, but when I was growing up, my dad drew lots of maps as well. He was always drawing maps, he was always looking at maps, and I in turn was looking at those maps as well. And when he died, I really wanted to commemorate him and his life with something that he would have enjoyed doing himself. So I wanted to undertake a big endurance event in his most favourite mountains in the world, which would be the Northwest Highlands. So 10 years before my father died, myself and my friend Mike had been talking about doing something of this nature, and we had been looking at this book, the Munros guide, and in all the editions of this guide, they had in section 17 the Island Munros grouped together as a little group. And sort of inspired by some of the bigger Munro rounds, like the Ramsey round, the Transfer and things like that, we thought it would be quite cool to try and link these Munros. Now, as you guys know, they're not geographically particularly close together, so it doesn't naturally fit as a sort of classic running round. So we thought what we'd do is we'd do it in triathlon style. So we do it fully human powered, but we do Cuillin Ridge, and then we find our way to Mull and swim across to Mull, and then do a meet to finish. So this challenge would involve doing the 11 Munros on the main Cuillin Ridge, dropping down and doing a glider, with a 12th Munro and sky. But then we have a bit of a problem because there's a couple of ways that we could have done this next section to get around to Loch Cuillin, where we can swim across to Mull, which is the shortest crossing. We thought originally could we get across to Mull, maybe on kayaks or something, but neither of us can kayak. So, and it's a long swim, that would be a serious swim. So we decided that for us, the best way to do it would be to cycle around. So we cycle around from the bottom of the Moran to Loch Cuillin, where we could swim across. Then once we swim across, we then have to cycle the last sort of little section to the bottom of the Moran and finally find them. But 10 years previously, we just sort of looked at this slightly and then sort of shelved the idea. But then once we had that, we decided, let's do this, let's take it seriously and give it a go. So the statistics they felt a bit overwhelming to us. Neither of us had ever done a triathlon before, not even the Olympic distance. So we first had to run the Cuillin Traverse, which was about 30 kilometres, and for the Greater Cuillin Traverse, 4,500 metres descent. Then we'd have to cycle around, which is about 250 kilometres in the end, and we'd swim across the Sound of Mull, which ended up about 3 kilometres, and then final 25 kilometre ride, and then run up Benmore. And with neither of us having much experience in triathlon, Mike's a really good ultra runner, very accomplished ultra runner, but he'd never done anything like this before. And we were both a bit worried, so we started feverishly Googling, triathlons, Ironman triathlons, and eventually I decided that unless we look like this, we weren't going to be able to get very far on this challenge. So training began in earnest. It was about a year out from the challenge where we thought, okay, we're seriously going to do this. We need to end up like this. And my friend Mike, who I've known since a baby, he grew up in Loch as well. He was living in the Spanish Pyrenees at that point. So he was training around like this, which is really similar to the Cuillin Ridge. Bit of altitude, perfect training ground for this kind of challenge. Running with vistas like this, up jagged rocky peaks. So whilst Mike was living in the Spanish Pyrenees and running and training in this kind of landscape, at that time I was living in Lincolnshire. So my training ground was a little bit more like this. And it was really hard to find anywhere that I could get any elevation. I found a couple of hills where I could do that somewhere. This is a little OS map. There are contours on there. The top right there's a couple. So I had a big challenge to try and train for this. But luckily I did have one of the high-tech training arena, which was a garage with a bike on a turbo. So because I was living there, because I had that kind of training ground, I had to make sure I was really maintaining my enthusiasm by getting away to mountains as much as I possibly could, and running in places like this, which is just the back of Skuru in the Glencarroll Hills. So training was going well in the run-up to the challenge. We did our best to do as much open water swimming as we could. This wasn't something that either of us had done before. I felt the swimming would be okay for me. I felt like I was a reasonable swimmer. Mike definitely, he's got heavy ultramarathon runners legs, so he felt the swimming might be a bit more of a challenge. And probably for me, the discipline I was most worried about was the cycling. And Mike had a lot of experience at this point of doing multi-day pushes and events. I had less of that, so that was something I had to think about as well. So I really knew things were getting very, very serious, and training was getting serious for Mike, and he decided he would cut off his dreadlocks, which he'd been growing for 15 years. So he lost a few kilos in weight there. So the training continued. And it was going really, really well. It was really starting to feel the effects of that cross-training of all three disciplines. And life was rumbling on in the background. And 2 months before the challenge, this guy arrived. And anyone who's been the parent of a newborn baby will know that trying to fit 18 to 20 hours of training around being a new parent is really difficult. But luckily he was keen to come to the crag. And my wife Lou was amazingly supportive as well whilst I was training. So when you're doing these, training for something which is so far in the future, it's quite difficult actually to stay motivated. But there was 2 things that were definitely keeping me really keen and motivated for the challenge. And the first one was getting out into the mountains with the people I love the most. This is me and my sister Hazel heading up into the northern Cuillins to do a little recce of the northern Munros. So it was just amazing to get out with people who were really keen on the mountains and really keen to help out. But also the landscape, the Cuillin Ridge, in my opinion, stands head and shoulders as probably the most beautiful mountain range we have in the UK. And it's hard not to be inspired when you're training for something like that. And it's inspired many people over generations. Sully McLean said of the Cuillin Ridge, "Great beautiful bird of Scotland, your beautiful winds prostrate upon the sea." And Lord Byron, when he first came to the Highlands, wrote a little poem which I think sums up how I feel about the mountains quite clearly. "He who first met the Highlands swam blue, will love each peak that shows a kindred hue, hail each crag, friend's familiar face, and clasp the mountain with his mountain's embrace." So the physical preparation was going really well. Alongside this, we also were putting a lot of time thinking about our route, how we'd approach the challenge. And luckily, having guided and instructed on the Cuillin Ridge for quite a long time, I knew the ridge traverse itself really well. I felt we didn't need to worry too much about that. But one place I'd never been was the north face of Moran. And it's quite a complex face, and there's a few routes up it, and we decided that the easiest route for us to take would be to head up number 33, which was Greater Cuillin Ridge. Appealingly named, and the reason I chose that was because we could get up to it on relatively easy terrain, and it was quite short up to the ridge of Moran. So we planned to practice this before the challenge. But with Mike coming from Spain and me coming from Lincolnshire, we only managed one weekend of the ridge. We didn't actually get to look at the north face of Moran. And this was a bit of an oversight because it meant that, well, we knew that we'd be approaching this in the dark and at night. So this was a bit of a worry when we were going into the challenge. And the other thing that was obviously a bit of a worry, knowing Northwest Highlands, was the weather. So for the challenge, we needed quite specific conditions at different times. We wanted dry rock and the Cuillin Ridge, not too hot, not too much wind. And then on the bikes, what would be great was a tailwind, because to change direction as we cycled. And then for the swim, we wanted flat calm. And then on Bedroll, we just wanted sort of glorious sunshine and a little finish. But as you guys can expect, the summer that we've sort of chosen, the few weeks we've chosen for the challenge, we only had weekends to do it, so Mike was working. And the summer we'd chosen for the challenge was pretty mixed, really, and kept getting forecasts like this. I don't even know what to do with that. It's pretty anything. And quite often, we'd have a really promising forecast on the Monday, and we'd be getting ourselves prepared, and then a couple of days later, we'd change back to So we were really running out of time, and the end of August was the last weekend that we could do it. The support team were ready. We were really wanting to just get it over with and get started on it. So we just decided that the last weekend in August, it looked okay. We just had to do it no matter what the weather came. Okay, we had to do it okay. So packing and planning began in earnest. So we sort of were organising all of our equipment, and the support team were going to follow us around in my camper van to make sure we had everything we needed at each stage. There was quite a lot of kit, along with all of our food. So we weren't sort of planning on doing the classic triathlon sort of changeover where you're running in and sort of putting on the next kit and cycling off, but we definitely wanted things to be in the right place all the time. And we had last swim in Loch Karen, which was really beautiful. At this moment, spirits were high, we were thinking, okay, this is going to be great. And the morning came, Saturday, and we were pretty relaxed really. It was a bit of a zen approach, what will be to the challenge. So that morning, Saturday, we headed over to Glen Bristol, and at 10 a.m. we set off from Glen Bristol campsite to start the Cuillin Traverse. And the weather was, as you can see, a bit cloudy, a bit misty, but we were hopeful that it was just mist, and we could just maybe lift, and we could maybe have some dry rock. And the photos get a little bit better from the next few slides, because Hamish Frost came with this for the first half of the image. So we headed off. We were really hopeful. We were really excited, moving at a steady pace. And as we got higher up into the clouds, it seemed okay. But the higher we went, the wetter it got. And this is coming into Cuillin Ridge, and it was raining and it was soaking wet. Everything was soaking. There was water pouring off all of the peaks. So, as you may know, on the Cuillin, there's a couple of different rock types that you mainly come across. One is the gabbro, which is pretty bricky in the wet actually, and can be climbed reasonably okay in the wet. But then the other one is the basalt, and that's really slippy, often like soap in the wet. But unfortunately, on the Cuillin, a lot of the lines of least resistance, the weaknesses in the mountains, they're basalt. So it was slow going. We were having to really go slowly, go steadily, watch our step. And at this point, we knew that we were going to be. At this point, we knew we were going to be losing time all the way while this weather persisted. But continue we did, and we were still having fun. It was still nice. It was an amazing day out with Mike and Hamish, and we were ticking off the summits slowly but steadily. And eventually we came to the inaccessible pinnacle. We'd ummed and ahed about taking a rope, and obviously as soon as we thought it might be wet, the rope was with us. There wasn't too much extra weight. So we did have the availability of the rope, but we didn't use it that much. We just used it for the abseils and things like that. And there was no photos from the Union Hamish left, and we didn't want to take any photos at that point. So this is us on top of Screen Gillian. And as you can see the clouds lifting, we were really wet and really cold there. It was taking 2-3 layers. So we were really glad to see the support team. We've been a few who met us at the top of Screen Gillian with some hot drinks. And by this point, we were way behind schedule. We'd sort of expected that it was, we'd be 4 hours maybe behind schedule. And the big thing with this challenge was that we had to hit the Sound of Mull at slack tide on Sunday, because if we didn't hit it at slack tide, it's a really fast tidal wave, so then we get swept down the coast and not land on Mull where we wanted to. So in the back of our minds already, we were thinking, okay, we're way behind time, we're just going to have to try and make some off this cycle. So we headed off down from Screen Gillian into the Camasuni Glen, and then out towards Larkin. Yeah, apologies, there's no more pictures of this bit, because things got quite stressful in the Glen. But you can see the clouds were lifting, and that actually helped lift spirits quite a lot. And there was a good few hours of wandering around in the dark, but amazingly we managed to find Dogleg Gully just based on the shadows of the ridge. So we managed to kind of get up onto Larkin, and we arrived down at the support crew way behind time, but ready to go for the cycle. So I think at this point it's important to mention the support crew, because there's no way we could have done this without them. We had a few people helping us. So first was Andy, who ran South Sky Cycles, and we called around loads of cycle shops to try and help us and explain the spikes to do the exercise. And the only person who was really key was Andy. And he not only did he give us 2 really nice bikes, but he also very willingly volunteered to come along and stay up all night as a mechanic, just in case we needed him and help with that. So really amazing he was able to do that. And then for the cycle part, we had my friend Steve, who came along and set the pace as we were cycling. And as you can see from his bulging six-pack and rippling six-pack and bulging thighs, he's exactly the kind of person you want to have along on a cycle. So we also had Steve's wife Andrea and my sister Hazel, who drove the van and provided all the food and made sure the bikes were in the right place, the swim stuff was in the right place. And they only fell asleep once when we pulled in at 5 o'clock in the morning and really wanted some food. We had to knock on the and that was awful. But yeah, amazing, they did an amazing job. So as I say, we couldn't do it without them. So we set off on the overnight cycle, and this was I was most worried about, and it turned out I was right to be worried because ridge and getting so cold and just probably not fit enough. I really struggled on the overnight cycle. I couldn't keep the pace up. I knew the pace we had to do. Steve kept shouting kilometres an hour that we needed to do to make start tide. But overnight, I was just really struggling coming out of coming up Glen Shields to clear that hill. Was so difficult. I just couldn't get myself together. But Mike and Steve were doing well, so that was mentally really challenging. I thought at this point that I'm going to have to just get them down and let them go. But the night wore on, and eventually day broke. And I was amazed, we were just past the window, and I was amazed the difference just the daylight had. Suddenly, I started moving again. And we had to put a serious shift on to get down and round to what we and even though things were pretty tough, it was still amazing fun and just a really nice day out with friends. The final climb up to over to Loch Lean, I sort of looked at it on the map and thought, actually it's a huge hill at the top. So we sort of staggered up that and rolled down the other side and made it to Loch Lean for 15 minutes before start time. So we thought we were going to have about an hour to just relax and eat something and get the wetsuits on. But as it turned out, we had to just sugar the and put the wetsuits on. And for the swim across, luckily, we had a support boat, which was Mike's dad and my old GP from McCarran, and Finley, another local friend who came out. They were really keen. So for us, the swim across Loch Lean was like the moment that we knew if we could do that, we could stay to the finish, you know. So it was a really massive moment crawling out the sea on the other side of the Mull. It was amazing the slack tide because we felt like we didn't lose anything, you know, we didn't have to fight against the tide. So we refueled at the other side. We were eating as much real food as we could, some gels and things, but a lot of real healthy food. And then it was just the final cycle, so Andy set us off again to ride to Ben. And the final climb up Ben Moor was amazing weather, just such beautiful views, and we could see back up towards the Isle of Skye, which was amazing. So I'd love to say we ran up here. We didn't. Yeah, we reached the top of Benmore after 32 hours and 20. So we had something to pop on the top, definitely not what I wanted to drink at that point, it tasted terrible. But yeah, we were just really pleased and really pleased to have finished, but as you know with these endurance challenges, often it's not that moment, it's the moment of real elation, it's afterwards, the sort of contemplation of what you've achieved afterwards. So I'd just like to show you a little video now, which might of the round, and it just illustrates a bit more what it was like for us. So.
The weather was awful, truly awful. It was the worst conditions I think we could have asked for. So there was just water streaming off all the rocks on the Cuillin.
It was the worst conditions I think we could have asked for. So there was just water streaming off all the rocks on Cuillin, and it was I don't know that. Get your weight and your feet down, it's fine. But it's just a bit tricky. Wonderful conditions on top of Skura Bannockdeek. Lovely times ahead. We've got Skura Greta, Skura Vati, Brook na Free, Ambastir and Gillian to go. And then we'll be heading down to get Blaven.
Fun.
Having a wonderful time.
Slip and slide.
Yeah. Coming up to the summit of Skura Greta, we finally got a little clearing from the mist. The rock is greasy though today. Still a wonderful day on the Cuillin Ridge.
So Mike and I go back right the way back until we were babies. Basically, we grew up together in Loch Carron in the northwest of Scotland. Northwest Highlands. So we've known each other a long time, and all the way through university, and we've had many adventures together, and he's definitely my best friend.
Nice one, Mike. That's number 7.
Yeah.
Right, let's keep moving.
Taskmaster.
So there's no one I would trust more to follow in such atrocious conditions on the Cuillin than Alex. He's got an encyclopedic knowledge of the route, so we basically had no route finding issues at all. But in the conditions, it was pretty apparent the consequences of any small slip or fall. But yeah, we just got on with it and tried to make the best of the situation, I think, as we always do when we're together in the mountains.
Skura Vati first top, so definitely far less than ideal conditions for today's ascent. But luckily this bit's the nice gabbro, so it's fairly grippy today.
Nice.
Hey, how's it going, Mike? Say something inspirational.
Pretty good. Having a wild time here. Don't think this much water has come off the Cuillin all summer.
Heading across the untracked wilds of the Camashinry Valley to climb Blaven and heading into the valley. Glad to be on flat ground again, but it's really boggy and there's no path. So yeah, and on into the night, I think.
The most important thing was to have our support team beside us the whole way, and they were amazing throughout the whole thing. Making sure we had enough fuel and real food was very important as well. You know, both of us doing it on a vegan diet, we wanted to make sure we had lots of real food and weren't having too many gels and everything.
So being part of the support team was a lot of fun, but it was a lot more challenging than I expected it to be. And of course we're operating from a camper van, which had all the cooking facilities we needed, but we had like all the food in the back, we had the bikes, and then myself, Andrea and Andy from South Sky Cycles were all crammed into the front seat. Alex and Mike had gone
For that, there we can see where the gully in the north face goes.
And we had been discussing in the van, the support team had been saying, I think 1 a.m. was the cut-off. And when we eventually heard their voices and saw the head torches coming towards us in the car park at 12:15, we knew that they were gonna make it, and we just needed to do a quick turnaround and get them on the bikes and on the road, and we were gonna make back some time.
The lowest moment for me was definitely the overnight cycle. My legs just wouldn't do what I wanted them to do. I just couldn't keep up with the speed that we needed to do. You know, despite all the encouragement and all the help from the support team, I just wasn't able to do the speed. So at that point, I really thought I was going to be unable to complete the whole challenge. But luckily, when the sun came up, and you know, Steve was doing an amazing job helping us, cycling with us and giving us loads of encouragement. Once the sun came up and Steve got a pace going, we were all right.
Support team.
That was the worst hill by far.
So things got pretty exciting towards the end of the cycle. We arrived in Cuillin with 15 minutes to spare for the slack tide. And yeah, we were pretty exhausted by that point. So we'd been on the go, I think, for about 26 hours. And the swim across the Sound of Mull was basically the final hurdle. We knew that if we could do the swim successfully, then we'd definitely finish. So yeah, there was nothing else to do but jump in.
And I'm hoping that the swimming muscles are going to activate.
You will find your way.
Oh my God.
Across broken ground, muddy trails and summits in your way. And I will save you a seat. As long as it takes for us to finally meet in an old town bar. Fireside and whiskey and tales of a long way round. And the cold water.
So the challenge to me meant a lot because it'd been 10 years in the making, and we also had, so it'd been 10 years in the making, and it also meant quite a lot because with my dad passing away the year before, he used to do a lot of these challenges, a lot of these big endurance events, and it was quite nice to complete it in his memory as well. So it meant a lot to me in that respect.
Your mind will make your body pay for the sins and the suffering you long to confess.
Absolutely loving the Sound of Mull. About halfway across. We would be moving a bit faster, but Mike's insisting on videos.
Long way round, and the cold water we found. Long way.
If anybody knows Mike and Alex, or you've met them or you know them personally, you'll know that they are both incredibly optimistic people. They're very alike in that sense, very laid back, very positive, and I really believe that that's one of the main reasons they managed to make it through this challenge. I would say 85% of the time it was party atmosphere.
We're on Mull!
The support team and us, we all worked really well together. It was just it was a lovely atmosphere throughout, which was fantastic. And everyone played their part really, really well. So.
Being part of the support team was overall just so much fun. I think my biggest takeaway, although it was challenging at times, is the camaraderie of the team.
So it was amazing to feel the sense of community around the challenge, but also to see all the donations coming in from all over the world for the Moran Foundation. Yeah, I think it was really special.
Your mind will make your body pay for the sins and the suffering you long to confess. Let the mist wash them away. Shed your skin and shake out the sand from your hair in an old town bar. Fireside and whiskey and tales.
And that's that foundation. The aim of the charities is to get you maybe show an interest in the outdoors, but have barriers and challenges to access them, to take them and give them an experience in Scotland, trying out all sorts of mental activities, and then helping them if they want to take that further and start getting qualified to lead in the outdoors. And we decided to do this because my dad spent his whole life getting people into the outdoors, and he was incredibly passionate about that. And he wrote in his book High Ground, after 30 years of guiding people from most walks of life, I'm persuaded of the inherent decency and goodness of humanity. Those who turn to the mountains find enlightenment through their experiences on higher ground. That truth is not in doubt. And what greater reward is there in a career than to have helped people make some sense in their lives? So the foundation's now been running for 5 years, 65 years? 5? So we've done 5 years of helping young people in the mountains, and it's just grown and grown. It's really been an amazing experience to be part of that, and to see these incredible young people, often the generation that's written off. Teenagers are always written off, aren't they? No matter what stage of But it's really nice to see how mature they are, and how I'm always blown away every year that we do this. When I meet them, you almost forget how difficult their situations are. It's amazing. So there is some information out front about the Moran Foundation, and please feel free to come and have a chat at the end if you want to know anything more about it. But I just want to show you a little video, which is a little promotional short video, which just tells you a little bit about what we do and why we think it's such an important thing.
We started the foundation 3 years ago with a mission to get young people.
We've got a 5-day adventure programme for 10 young people in the Scottish Highlands. So we'll be doing rock climbing, scrambling, hill walking, and we've even managed to get in the snow this week, so it's been great.
This week is really special because we strongly believe that it's really important to get people into the mountains, and access to the mountains isn't always easy. You need the right kit, you need the right teachers and guides, and we are providing that to people who may not otherwise get that chance.
When I heard about this trip, at first I was quite nervous, and it's just been really unexpectedly great. So it's like every time I come home, I call my mom, I'm like, I did the scariest thing, but then it was the best day of my life at the same time, and then we wake up tomorrow, the same thing again.
It's been really cool meeting new people from different areas. Like, it's like meeting a completely set of new people you've never met before. So like people from like Liverpool and Wales and like Perth, like people I'd like never have met like any other time. So it's really cool to meet different types of people as well.
We were scrambling today. I had never even climbed 5 rocks and climbing those big rocks, navigating ourselves in those conditions, it was all pretty new to me. And you climb each pitch and you look back and you're like, wow, I did this. is great.
I think that it can be harder to get into the outdoors being a girl, mostly like people assuming that like associating strength with men, but there is a lot more like femininity in like the mountaineering world and that nowadays. Like it's not the same as it used to be, and it's definitely something that if you feel like you want to do it, to just go for it, like no matter if you're a girl or a boy.
This is what my mum really wanted me to do. She's the one that kind of told me I need to do this. So I was like, right. So I spoke to my college lecturers, and now I'm here. My story is when we came back from holiday in 2015, my mum started getting headaches a lot, and then it just kept getting worse, and then we eventually switched doctors, and it turns out she had a brain condition. And it's not life-threatening or anything, but it takes a huge toll on her life and others. And currently, in my household, I'm the only breadwinner, so it's hard sometimes, and I don't like being at home sometimes because it's a bit scary to see it. But no, she's a fighter, and she's done really, really well as well. The scholarship got brought up by Alex, and we're sitting speaking about it, and it sounded really interesting because it's kind of what we're doing now, but you can actually get like qualifications from it, and I've already said that I'm going to do it next year if I can, because it just sounds amazing. I think it would be good for anyone who just wants to get out.
So the scholarship scheme at the Moran Foundation is a way that the young people who come on our courses can continue to pursue their passion for the outdoors. This could either be through funded adventures, where we would provide the funding for accommodation and transport for them to get into the mountains, or through qualifications courses or skills courses, which they would like to sign up to. One young person, Andy, who came on our first course, who's just completed his mountain leader training, which was fully funded by the foundation, and he's going to go on to do his assessment next year. And he's worked really, really hard, and he's taken everything that we taught him on the course, and he's just ran with it, and he's gone much, much further, which is absolutely amazing to see.
Like in a wetsuit, sadly from my perspective, but
That was 9 years ago.
But we have shared both the geography teachers, so to see that work is really powerful. Your dad has been really proud of that. Amazing endurance event, task, whatever, journey, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not sure the sky is for us board. The thing about the Cuillins, you have such a lovely set of pictures, and then the reality when you actually did it, there seems to be any middle ground. And
yeah, definitely selected the best from the slideshow.
I wonder if anybody has any questions for Alex. I maybe get the ball rolling. Did it ever occur to you that you do south north? Was it all about the Cuillin Ridge?
Oh yeah, so Benmore first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't want to come to the Cuillin rapid. It was like going to be the most technical, so we did consider it, but we just thought that doing the swim would be better, would that be safer? We did the Cuillin after the rest.
Anyone else got any questions for Alex? Yes.
How do you get the children? How do they come to you? Are they learning this through schools
Yeah.
or individuals?
I really digest that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to repeat the question just in case both, and I might stop and stop. So, how do you recruit the young people for the foundation?
So this is really important actually, so we would basically we adults who have contact with young people, not family members, but teachers, youth leaders, scout leaders, guide leaders, social workers. They submit an application which is on the website, and they can tell us in that application about all the, their passion for the outdoors, what they've done before, but also their challenges. And then once we get through those, we then send the young people an application where they can just tell us about when we're coming. So it's a two-stage process, and then we select the final 10 from those applications. They can come from anywhere, so we've had young people from up and down the UK, and also we've had young people who've come from abroad, claiming asylum, and come to asylum seekers in the UK. So just all sorts, basically. And the only qualification is they have to have had some barriers and challenges, and they don't have to have done it. We don't, if they've done those in the outdoors, they don't need us. So just they've shown some sort of interest in the outdoors.
Has anyone tried to repeat the challenge?
No, I'd really like it. So I think it can be done in under 24 hours. But I saw the much but also
luckier as well.
Good conditions. I think it could definitely be done in under 24 hours. Ross Crew is amazing. So yeah, so I think it would really be good someone, but it's quite obscure. I think it's quite a weird one to do, so probably I've not heard of anyone to do.
Where are you based?
Now?
Where the centre is, where the children,
great.
Children meet.
Yeah, so we run out of Baldish lodges. So every year we're based in the Cambridge. And then Glenmore Lodge, we're partnered with them to run the qualifications courses for the young people. So we have the climbing wall, indoor climbing assistant wall going through Glenmore Lodge, and we're starting to run courses where they can start to get their quality mountain days for mountaineers, and just to assist them with that process.
Did you know you were well matched for pace in all three disciplines, especially the swimming as well, but the bike and the climbing before the event?
I suppose if it had been straight running, Mike would have definitely had been, because it was quite a technical round on the Cuillin, we were quite well matched there. And then I just had a bit of a moment overnight. But I suppose even if we hadn't been well matched, we would have waited for each other. So they might waited for me on the bike.
You're not really matched on the swing? You're not really?
We were fairly even. By that point, I was had a really bad cramp. I was like cramping all the time with my legs. And we were just kind of like, there was a few shots there and it looked like we were like powering out and forward. It was a bit of a crawl, but then I'm not side stroke. We didn't quite resort to double that with it. So I think by that point, we were so tired.
Did you not fancy the Glenelg swim and another one at night then?
These were all considered options that we thought the best, the safest with the cycles down the movie.
Would you, having done it once, would you give it another go, or is that you don't want to do that again?
I suppose I would have really liked to have done it in good conditions. It would have been really nice to see what time we could have got in good conditions. But I think there was such an effort to get it all to match up and line up that, probably won't do it again. But I mean, I would have really liked to have done the Cuillin in dry, because that was like the better than most looking forward to. And moving faster,
What would have happened if you didn't make the sack time? Would you have waited or taken the boat and swam the way back?
I think
abandoned?
So I think probably we'd have just waited. It would have been sad because we'd have had to wait a long time there again. But we would have just waited. I think it's just we would have wanted to compete at that point. It was just so lucky. That felt quite exciting.
Lucky you worked hard for it.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
portion of our turnover, our profits for this evening, and so it's the foundation. But if anybody wants to contribute any money on the way out, and I'll pay out for any donations to the foundation. So really brilliant cause, close to my heart as well. So amazing.
And if anyone wants to ask anything else about the foundation,
in 2 weeks' time, we've got Ed Smith. Ed Smith has a gallery in UC. He's a kayaker. He's also a filmmaker, and he is in the middle of a project discovering the River Spey. So it's really interesting. It's going to be really interesting talking to you this time. Love to see you at that. But please do hang back and chat with Alex, or hang back and help us back up in the chairs, or hang back and put the cups away. But anyway, lovely to see you, and hope to see you in 2 weeks' time, same time, same venue, in 2 weeks' time. Okay, thank you.